How you guys doing? Welcome to this channel. Today is a very important lesson for us. Philip, my friend, asked about some of the questions that he had about how the whole currency worked. I made some content ready just to explain to him. So we thought maybe we take a video and just explain it to a lot of people that can actually learn, except just Philip here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's just for me. I think it's for all of us. Just the basics, because we all kind of run around and exchange these paper notes with each other, and it's like it's just we started talking and I realized I don't know anything about this actually, how it started, where the value comes from. I mean, how it comes that we actually use this and see some form of value in it and exchange it for stuff. I understand the barter system, like back in the day, 1 orange for an apple, or like labor for food, or all this. But how did this start? Cash.
Okay. Well, dude, like to understand cash, I think we have to go back like a little bit more in time to the era where people started trading with gold, right? I think we all know people used to trade with gold before, and eventually, like around those times, like what you would do if you want to buy some small items, right? There were copper and other metals that were used, So people started traveling the world, right? And then basically there were a lot of traders going from here, going to another place, trading, So world trade was already booming, and basically the world needed a new currency where everybody can trade easily. So a new system was made, I think about 1913, if I'm not mistaken. So in this time, what happened was basically people from around the world came, and then they sat down together, and then they came up with this system where the money that we use today sort of existed, right? But let's go back and then let's have a look. So what I've done is I've kept a video ready for you, right? Let me just show this to you. And I think through this video we can learn quite a bit about quite fast, it's a 1 minute video. By the way, before I start the video, let me just to tell you guys, if you guys are interested in economics, this guy's got videos just about 1 minute, so if you don't have much time and then you're still interested about economics, don't forget to follow this guy, 1 Minute Economics. He's got wonderful videos over there. So we're going to take one of his videos, look at one of his videos today, All right, Philip, we'll just have a look, and then while we're having a look, we'll also discuss about how any questions you have, we basically will be discussing around that time only. Yeah, cool.
Almost 2,600 years ago, the first gold coins were minted and used for trade. Later on, people started storing their gold in well-guarded vaults and bought goods and services using the receipts given to them by those running the vaults. Pieces.
Right. So before people had gold, it's not so safe to keep it. Like people, they're always stealing and stuff. So they go to the bank, and the bank gives you sort of receipt, not paper currency, but a receipt. Which if you take the receipt, if I give it to you, you can also go to the bank and then you can take the gold, right? Yeah.
Pieces of paper they could always exchange for real gold. That's how paper money first appeared, and things evolved from there. Initially, most currencies were pegged to gold directly, as the name gold standard suggests. People could walk into a bank and exchange a piece of paper money to gold. After 1945, however, this changed. Currencies were pegged to the dollar, which was pegged to gold at a rate of $35 per ounce. Individuals were no longer allowed to exchange paper money to gold, but central banks were.
So a new system was made. I think this is about 1945, 1944, where only the central governments could exchange the gold from another country, right? So that took the power from the individual people to buy gold. That's why we have laws when you go outside, when you try to smuggle gold, the police will always try to catch you, because you're not just smuggling gold, you're actually playing with the whole economy somehow. We will talk about that.
However, countries such as France ended up no longer trusting the US dollar and started converting their dollars to physical gold. The gold reserves of the US were getting depleted quickly, so President Nixon stopped allowing that. He took the United States, and thereby the world, off anything even resembling a gold standard in 1971. At this point, the money we use isn't backed by anything tangible. Fiat currencies, as they're called, are basically backed by confidence. The dollar is backed by the confidence people have in the US, the British pound by people's confidence in the UK, and so on. The value of one currency compared to another therefore fluctuates continuously. Confidence-driven supply.
All right. So I'm not
Pretty
sure.
intense, yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure what you understood over there,
Yeah,
but then we can just summarize these things, right?
Yeah.
So to make the world trade easier, people what they did was they used US dollar as a currency to trade globally, right? US dollar would be pegged to gold, right? So if there was this much amount of gold, then the same amount of paper currency would exist. So what you're asking is, how does the value of the paper arrive, right? So it's the gold that has the actual value, right? And what you hold is just a currency that is issued by the government, right? Which is sort of authorized, right? Just to make our trade easier, right? So what happened, as in the video, what they're saying is, so as you see, there's more trades going on, right? Like, okay, this is US, right? And these are different countries, right? Now what's happening is they are going over here, they are trading, right? What are they giving? They're using US dollar, right? In the old days, what used to happen, they used to give gold and then they used to take the goods, right? So now suddenly all these countries have a lot of US dollar, right? Instead of gold. And that's why you see the France Prime Minister at the time, he was the first one to ask and challenge US that, I would rather have the gold back. He challenged the whole monetary policy, and that's when all these countries started to give all of these US dollars back to US, and then they started taking the gold, right? So why US dollar was used as a base currency is because they had the most gold, and they was the most stable currency compared to any other currency, right? But then they had printed excessive amount of money than they should be, right? Are you getting me? Like, so before $20 of gold was backed by $20 worth of paper currency. Eventually people printed more money, right? So what happens when you print more money? Like, the money devalues. So still the gold is $20, but what you have in $50. You know what I mean? So sort of this devaluation has, inflation. This is how inflation rises every time, right? So they had printed so much of excessive money that they gave out. So now, since the world was giving the money back and then taking the gold back, they realized, oh shit, like we're in trouble because we've printed like a lot of money. And if we take that, let's say if all the countries like give the US dollar back and then they give them the gold, and let's not forget, it's not just US that is going on crisis, right? You know the whole world goes on crisis. You know what I mean? Because why? Because we are not using gold, we're using paper currency, US dollar, as a value of exchange throughout the world. We're clear with that part, right? So since we are using US dollars, in 1971, pretty much Nixon announced that gold will no longer be pegged to US dollar, right? Sorry, US dollar will not be pegged to gold anymore.
Yeah, to gold.
So since then, what we use today is called fiat currency, a currency that is backed by just trust. This is a trust that we have in our government, you have in your government, wherever you guys are. You know what I mean? So this is how the whole system is worked. Let me show another video. But then, what are you saying?
No. When I heard fiat currency, I'm like, fiat, like the car. It's spelled the same way, but it does not mean the same thing.
Doesn't mean. But then let's also look at first all the world started having different currencies, right? In 1944, when we were talking, a few economists from around the world. Let me just check the names. The names of these people. One of them was British John Maynard Keynes or Kane. I don't know what the fuck his name is. But American Harry Dexter White. These are the two economists that came down, and along with them, about 44 countries sat down together. 44 people from 44 countries. There were roughly about 730 people that came from around the world. The goal was to create an effective foreign exchange system for the world to to trade. This is called the Bretton Woods Agreement, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the Bretton Woods Agreement, but let's just have a look at the video first. And once again, don't forget to follow 1 Minute Economics if you want to learn a lot about economics within 1 minute. You know, this guy's made
After
some wonderful
World War
stuff.
II,
Let's
it
have
was clear the world needed a new financial system. The gold standard was considered too rigid, but at the same time, economists were worried that countries would devalue their currency to boost exports. For this reason, 44 countries sent delegates to a conference held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, as of the 1st of July 1944. The US, which held 2/3 of the world's gold reserves after the war, was obviously the most influential player, and ultimately, all currencies ended up linked to the dollar, and the dollar was linked to gold. One important concern arose, though. If a country goes through an economic crisis, how can it get out of it without devaluing its currency? To address this issue, two institutions were created. One, the International Monetary Fund, which was supposed to lend money to countries that are in trouble and cannot attract financing.
So in this when it was 1944 and when all of these guys met, right? Two of the most important organizations that is run today was formed. One is the IMF, which like lends money when no other people is for the country, right? When nobody is going to give them any money
From other sources.
And then other
Two,
one is World
the
Bank
International
again.
Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is now called the World Bank and was supposed to help less
So World Bank pretty much
developed
takes care of
countries
all
grow.
the infrastructure, right?
Unfortunately,
We need
as
to
good as it
grow.
may have sounded on paper, the Bretton Woods system didn't survive because the United States kept running deficits to fund various
Yeah, so if you can see the over there, like he's printing more money. Right? That's the US dollar that is printing more money. So that is what the problem
Projects.
was. That's why the Bretton Woods agreement could not last very long.
and therefore the amount of
Because in the agreement that they had, they did not have any circulating supply or fixed amount of supply that was set. Right, so
You
they
could just print more
Yeah.
and you become more rich, basically.
yeah. But then when people start taking the gold back, that's when you're in trouble, right?
of dollars
So I think in order to let's just look at this. I think I'll tell you.
in
after that.
existence kept increasing while the gold reserves of the US kept shrinking, as more countries demanded gold in exchange for their dollars.
This is when they're
As
giving
such,
back
on the
the US
15th of
dollar,
August 1971,
taking the
Nixon officially announced that dollars would no longer be convertible to gold, thereby putting the final nail in the coffin of the Bretton Woods system.
Yeah, so the currency is not backed by this gold, and from now what we're gonna use is fiat currency, right? So yeah, man. Today what we use is basically the world is dependent sort of on US dollar, which is used for worldwide trade, while US is not doing so good in terms of their financials themselves. They're in a $22 trillion debt. Right now, just recently, like I think 2 weeks back or not even a week back, they announced to cut the interest rate. And these are signs of financial crisis coming. If you check out history, right? If you check out the history and if you check out the 2007, 2008, 1997, and all these crises, and they all had something in similar, right? And it starts with the Fed going to cut the interest rate as low as possible, right? So when this happens, economy jumps, right? Because there's no more panic, economy is more stable. But problems, maybe we can discuss that in the future. But yeah, the basics in the old times we were using gold, right? And now we use fiat currency. And another interesting fact is if you see, I told you in 1913 we were using, before that we were using gold and silver, or also paper currency, you know, but mostly gold and silver. But then in 1944, we came up with a new policy, you know, for international trade with the US dollar. And in 1971, we came up with a new policy where US dollar is the base of currency for world trade, and no more currencies in the world are pegged to dollar anymore. I'm sorry, gold anymore, right?
Gold.
So it's been 39 years since any last change has happened in the monetary policy. And right now, if you take a look, a lot of shit is going on, you know, because people have lost the faith in US dollar, you know, and they speak from their actions, although they try to sanction a lot of countries, you know, and people are realizing that, you know, people are realizing how US takes advantage of basically having the power, right, sanctioning other country. So yeah, man, it's pretty interesting what's going on right now. Maybe will China come over with a more stable currency? You know what I mean? Is there something else like Bitcoin? I don't know if you heard about Bitcoins, but because of all these policies, people are moving back to old times again. right, to gold standard, right? So if you see the gold market, the prices have really gone up recently, is because people are losing the faith in the money system, right? And the average lifespan of a paper currency is 27 years, right? And the longest one that has been surviving is the British pound, which is I think 357 years. But if you look at how British pound is doing, I don't think they're doing so good right now. The interest rate is 0 for like the last 2-3 years. Yeah, man, this is what's been going on like right now. So we'll cut at this for now. We'll come back with more. Just be tuned, and we'll bring you more knowledge so that you can learn. Half an hour for you, so that we will do all the research, and you can spend your time.
I learned something. You learned something. Stay tuned.
See you guys pretty soon.
Yeah.
Bye bye.